Hi everyone. Today we'll be talking about the IEC 61850 setup on the Shark 200 series meters and the Nexus 1500 Plus series meter. As always, we start out on the web page. Our website, electroind.com, has all of the information, meter manuals, and the IEC 61850 information that we'll need for today's presentation. So the main page, electroind.com, if you click on products, we have the Nexus 1500 Plus series meter. We have the Shark 270, which is IEC 61850 compatible. We also have the Shark 250 and the Shark 200 meter, which are IEC 61850 compatible. The Shark 200, 250, and 270 use the same INP 300S card for IEC 61850 communication. So we will be showing the Shark series meter setup once, and that will be universal across these three different styles of Shark 200 meter. So if I click on Shark 200, under the tech documents, under downloads, the user manual has an appendix where it has information about IEC 61850 specific to the Shark 200. We also have the KEMA certificate for IEC 61850 to show that our meter meets the IEC 61850 standards. We have a default ICD file. The ICD file is an IED capability description. This is basically a pre-built map for our Shark series meters. This file is the one that you will edit, and we'll go into that process shortly here. We also have the IEC 61850 file MICS, which is the Model Implementation Conformance Standard. This is just a document explaining how the points are set up inside the meter and what you can change. We also have an application guide that discusses in more detail each of the points and how to convert ICD files, which are the basic template files that you can edit, into a CID file, which is a configured IED description, which is what would get uploaded into the Shark meter to get the IEC 61850 server started. So I have these files downloaded already. This is the KEMA certificate for our meters. This is the MICS document, giving you an introduction to the Shark series meter, file name, logical nodes. The Shark series meters do not support Goose messaging. Our Nexus 1500 Plus is the meter that supports Goose messaging. The application guide goes over setting up those points. At the bottom of this document, it also gives you a link to some information. Here's a link to the ICD file from our website. You can get the CID file from the meter, which we'll go over. And this is an SCD to CID converter. So this is a free software tool you can use to convert an ICD file to a CID file. So on that note, if we connect to a meter, You can connect here. I will be connecting to one of our online Shark 200 meters. MyNexusMeter.com, network port 512. This is a Shark meter that has the IEC 61850 card in it. Once you're connected to the meter, you have your device ID, type, and serial number, as well as the firmware information, your vSwitch information. If I hit OK, come to Tools, and choose Option Card Information. This will show me which option cards I have installed. You'll see that option card 1 has the communication INP300S card. This is the current firmware version of that card. I can close this, open the profile. Now you have the profile, option card 1, the network card. Here's where you can set the IP address inside the network card to match your network settings. We have the services and security. If you do choose to use the IEC 61850 protocol, you will want to make sure that this box is checked. And we do have in parentheses here, make sure that the network card firmware is up to date to support this feature. So this is the only setting that we have to change in Communicator PQA in order to get IEC 61850 server going on the card. Everything else is done through the web page. So now you'll have to connect to the meter through the web page. In this Shark 200 meters case, this is mynexusmeter.com, port 8093. Once you go to the page, the main page is the system hookup, device information, basically the same device status screen that you saw when you first connect to the meter in Communicator PQA. We do have the status of the IEC 61850 server. You will notice here that the uploaded CID has critical errors and that the IP is bad. Most of the time, whenever we run into issues with meters talking to on an IEC 61850 system, it's because the IP address in the CID file does not match the IP address of the meter. So what you can do, if you come here to upload CID file, you can open an XML version of the CID, which will just open in your web browser so that you can see what information is in the meter. Right away, if we look at the address and look at the IP address, we have 10.0.0.2, which is the default IP address of a Shark 200 series network card, not the current IP address inside the meter. So what we would want to do is right-click and save as to save this document. We can save this file anywhere on our computers. I have a Shark 200 IEC 61850 ICD file right here. And if I right click, there is another free piece of software online called Notepad++ that you can use to edit these files. They do make IED browsers, which are designed specifically for ICD, CID files, and those have logic written in them so that if you do choose to make a change to the file, it will check your syntax to make sure that you're typing in information that is compatible with IEC 61850. While you can edit and view with the Notepad++ software, there is nothing to stop you from typing the wrong information in. But for the sake of using freely available software, this is an option. While we're looking at this ICD file, if I come in here and look at the meter manual for the Shark 200, this is in Appendix E of the user manual. And we start out with an overview of IEC, relationships of clients and servers. So we give you a general overview of the IEC 61850. Here's where it starts with the configuration, any reference materials, and free tools for setting up. So I won't go into all the details of setting up every point inside the meter, because we do have a pre-built map that can be edited by a team or anybody familiar with configuring IEC 61850. The point of this is to show, to get the basic setup, the IED name, which is again the intelligent electronic device name. This should be the meter designation that we find from general settings, system settings, and meter designation in the meter profile. So we call this template, but this is what you will change to your meter's name. You will want to change it here and here. So these are the two places you want to make sure to change that name. You also want to make sure to change this IP address to the meter's current IP address. And if we go back to the information, the meter information page, we would want this IP address to match the IP address in this ICD file. While we're making these changes, designator is the EID name. So if I copy this and paste it into this field here, paste it into this field here. You can also do this with Notepad. The nice thing with Notepad++ is when you highlight a section, it goes through and looks for all the areas with the same name and highlights it so that you can check to make sure that you have the identical settings where they're supposed to be. Once you've made these changes, if you are using the default template file, it's recommended to save as. And you can save this as the meter designation, ICD updated file. If I come back in here, you'll notice that I forgot, because this is Notepad++, even though I did open it as an ICD file, when I saved it, it does not automatically write to an ICD file. So what you need to do when you save it, or if you didn't do it before you saved, you'll have to come back in here and type .icd. And now the file will be updated as an ICD file. Another piece of free software that is available is this SCL to XML converter. So what this will do, if I run this piece of software, it brings up a command prompt window and an SCL converter open dialog box. Right now it's looking for an SCD file. I can choose from the drop-down ICD. I can take this ICD file that I just created, open it, and get converted to an XML file. They make ICD to CID converters. We have plenty of options out there. A lot of this software is either subscription-based or pay for. Typically, if you have an IEC 61850 network in place, you'll already have this software that can take care of these files for you. But once you've got this ICD file changed, converted, you come back into the meter's web page, click Upload CID file. You click Browse to choose a file. You can locate a file you want to upload. You hit Open. You use the upload password. But once you've uploaded this file, you can look at the system log to see the status of the IEC 61850 card, whether it's working. You see that there's the IP mismatch right here. The server is up and running, and some tasks are missed because we have an IP mismatch. Come back into meter information. Once that IP address is cleared up, this error goes away. So that's the process for retrieving the ICD file from the meter, editing the ICD file. The ICD file will need to be converted into a CID file before it can be re-uploaded into the Shark meter. And once that gets re-uploaded, then the meter is ready to talk on the IEC 61850 network. So on our Nexus 1500 plus meter, we would go through the same steps as before in products on our electroind.com webpage. We have the Nexus 1500 plus power quality meter. In the tech documents, the user manual again has a section that describes how to retrieve the ICD file for the Nexus meter. If you don't have a Nexus meter, we have an IEC 61850 ICD file template that you can download, look at, play around with before you actually get your meter. We also have the MICS file and the standard application guide for the 1500 plus. Now for the 1500 plus meter, if I exit the Shark 200, disconnect and connect to a 1500 plus meter, type in the IP address, the Modbus port number, and you'll see that I have the IEC 61850 server, which is on. We're using the default CID file because there is an error with the current CID file where we have a mismatched IP address. So again, what we would do, hit OK, come into the meter profile. In meter profile, under Nexus 1500 Plus, general settings. First in labels, we have the meter designation, which is the EID name. Communications, double click any one of these points. We have advanced settings. You might have two network cards. The Nexus 1500 Plus meter has one standard Ethernet RJ45 card. There's also an option for a second RJ45 or fiber Ethernet communication card. If I click advanced settings, either one of these buttons takes me to the same settings page where we can enable the web server, the Modbus TCP server, which is what we use for communicator PQA for communication. We have an FTP server, file transfer protocol server. And down here we have the IEC 61850 and IEC 61850 Goose messaging capability. Anyone not familiar, Goose messaging is part of the GSE, the generic substation event. Goose is a generic object-oriented substation event, which is basically a message that is sent to any device that is subscribing to this meter. So if this meter sees an event, it will broadcast, and any subscribers will get that broadcast and take the appropriate action for this event. The IEC 61850 Goose messaging tab here, if this is enabled, these checkboxes, you can set up 16 limit events inside this meter. So anytime any one of these limits are tripped, the meter will capture a power quality capture, a waveform capture, and a power quality event. So again, in the profile through communicator PQA, all you have to do is enable the IEC 61850 server. Then there's the ICD files that we have to edit to get it set up with the correct server information. So the method for getting the IEC 61850 information from the Nexus meter is a little bit different. You can actually get this information using the file transfer protocol. You can use FileZilla or any other file transfer protocol system that you're using. If you don't have a file transfer protocol software, you can also just open up a Windows Explorer window, type in FTP : then the way you get into the meter is you type in a username, a password, and the IP address of the meter. This meter that I have, I don't have security enabled. So if you don't have security enabled, you use anonymous as the user, a : anonymous as the password, and then you'll type at, then the meter's IP address. In my case, this is 10.0.0.103. When I go here, I have the directory of the Nexus 1500 Plus meter. In your C drive, we have the IEC 61850 folder. We have the SCL folder. And here we have the NX1500.CID, the NX1500.CID. So this is the file that the Nexus meter tries to use. This is the default CID file if there is a problem with the file that you created. So you do not want to use this IED srv.cid file. This one should not be touched and should be left alone. So if I wanted to make any changes, I can come in, I can copy this NX1500 ICD file. I can paste it here. And I can again edit this with Notepad. And these are the version revisions. This is just telling you what changes we've made from each revision of the ICD file. Here again, we have the IED name, which we'll want to change. And this is the IP address that we're using, which should be the 10.0.0.103. If I make the change, save this as, I keep this .icd extension on here. Now I can send this updated ICD file to my integrator. If I am the integrator, I can run it through the ICD to CID converter. Now, you might think it'd just be as easy as pasting back into this directory once you have the CID file. That does not work this way. Once you do have a new CID file to upload into the Nexus 1500 Plus meter, what you'll do is you'll go back to the meter's web page. So 10.0.0.103 or whatever your meter's IP address is, you'll type that into a web browser. You will access the Nexus 1500 Plus meters web page. We have the meter name, time, we have all the real-time information. Come down to the tools menu. We'll click on IEC 61850 SCL upgrade. This will open up a new page. Again, the username and password, if you don't have security enabled, is anonymous and anonymous. If you do have security enabled, your admin, capital ADMIN, is the username, and the password is whatever password you set into the meter. Or if you had assigned privileges to users, they would use their own username and password to put into this field. Oops. So one, click the browse button. So you have to choose your CID file that you wish to upload. if I took that file, the CID file that I had created, open it, and then I would just click Update SCL file. That will write the new CID file into the Nexus 1500 Plus meter. And now, again, I will be up and running and ready to talk on the IEC 61850 network. So you'll notice that I was talking to these meters on the web page. I was connecting to them with communicator PQA, using both of those systems to set up the IEC 61850 protocol. So our network cards and our meters will talk Modbus for configuration, the web browser for access to the meter web pages, and IEC 61850 simultaneously. So you don't have to choose one or the other. They will talk both. They do reserve dedicated ports for IEC 61850 for Modbus communication and for web page access. So you don't have to worry about too many people connecting to the meter with communicator PQA taking up space from IEC 61850. While I'm talking to the meter with the web page, with the communicator software, there's still 5 ports on the Nexus 1500 Plus meter dedicated to IEC 61850. So the FTP information that I was talking to you about on the Nexus 1500 Plus meter, you don't have to remember all of those settings. All of that information is available in Appendix C of the Nexus 1500 Plus user manual. Again, we go over a small overview of the IEC 61850 protocol. We go into specifics on client-server communication, which is the basic IEC communication protocols. We also do the broadcast and subscriber, or publisher and subscriber communication, which is the Goose messaging, which tells the meter if it sees a power quality event or an alarm limit event to broadcast out, not to a specific substation or user, but to the entire network, and any other devices on the network that are subscribed to this meter will listen to that broadcast. So here starts the steps in configuring the network. You have your file, you go through the system configurator, create your SCD, the IED configurator or the ICD file, and then you convert that into a CID file, which you load into the meter for the IEC service. So this goes into talking about the specific nodes and logical nodes. This is a little primer on the Goose messaging. We have reference material, and now we get into setting up the meter. So advanced settings, enable the settings. So again, starting on page 261, that goes through all the steps that I just showed. So using this video, using the manual, this will go through and give you all the information you need to set up IEC 61850 on the Nexus 1500 Plus meter. So that wraps up how to retrieve the ICD files, either from our website for the default template or from the meters directly themselves. Edit the files any way you need. Those files will go through an ICD to CID converter, whether you use one of the free tools online or whether you have your own software for creating those CID files. That CID file then gets uploaded into the meter, and now your meter is ready to talk on an IEC 61850 network.